صوت البلد سوريا.
الله محيي الجيش، الله محيي الجيش، الله محيي الجيش.
Well, I have to say, I am so pleased to be here. I have waited 10 years to tell this story. I remember after 9/11, when my CIA handler, Richard Fuse, told me that there really wasn't going to be much of a 9/11 investigation. And we were going to try to keep the people calm. That's what he said. We're going to keep them calm. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't really need them to know everything that we were doing before 9/11. And I said, well, why? What do you think what do you think's going to happen when they find out that you didn't tell them the truth? Why don't you just tell them the truth right now? And he said, well, that's not really what they want to do. So I had I had different ideas. I will tell you straight off the bat that right after 9/11, my CIA handler received a $13 million payoff from the 9/11 investigation that was supposed to be money used for the Iraqi, to secure Iraq's cooperation. And I ended up getting indicted on the Patriot Act. I was the second non-Arab American ever indicted on the Patriot Act after Jose Padilla. I was what's called an asset.
Right. Okay.
I was an intelligence asset. I was supervised by handlers for the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency. I was not covert, but you guys have no idea what actually happened. This is like the lies are so much bigger than what you know. And it's so much deeper, and it's so much more tragic once you have the truth. First of all, the CIA has a long track record of doing false flag operations on itself. Oh, on Libya.
On Libya. So that's very similar to what's happening.
There is no reason for the United States to be invading Libya at all. There is no justification for this. It's ironic because we're fighting Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and Iraq, and Libya is actually, the Libyan rebels are radical Islamists who are trying to institute Sharia. And whether you like Sharia or whether you like the Islam, whether you like Gaddafi or not, see, this is where it gets you. You're an asset. Whether you like Gaddafi, you may hate him, you may think he's bad, but the facts are that the rebels are Islamic radicals. They do want to institute Sharia, and at least be honest and say it, because that's what you're going to get. And don't pretend you're somewhere else. Don't pretend these are people who are doing something different than what you say. That is what their goal is. And they don't want democracy. Gaddafi has been in power for 41 years, and I know it's time for change, but he has also had a tremendous track record on women's rights. They do not have to wear the abaya. They are free not to get married if they don't want to. Women are free to get divorces if they want. And when we talk about Sharia, what I mean is that the Libyan rebels want the women to wear the burqa. An abaya is the burqa where they cover their hair and stuff. They don't have to do that now. They're going to have to do it in the future. They do not want the women to have the right to reject marriage proposals. Under Gaddafi's government, an imam actually visits the women before marriage and sits with them privately, which is really unheard of, and makes sure that the women are not being pressured into a marriage. And if the young woman says that she is being pressured, the imam is, under the law of Libya, the imam has to protect the woman from the abuse of the relatives. And so he has to give her a chance to reject the marriage when nobody is there to pressure her to do it. Because this is what happens in Islamic families. Right now there is a counter coup going on in Libya, in Benghazi, and there's all kinds of dramatic stuff that's happening. So Gaddafi's. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's true. So, but it's still, it's you know, so
Hasn't Gaddafi been a pretty good ally for the West in recent years? So
Absolutely.
why is NATO supporting the rebels if they're in favor of Iran? I don't understand why NATO is supporting.
It is very interesting. Gaddafi has Libyan oil costs $1 per barrel to produce, and the United States had preferential contracts already. With the United States and France and Britain all had, they could take as much oil as they wanted. And most of the oil does not come to the United States. It does, however, go to Italy and France and Britain. So it's a major source of European oil. And yet, what Gaddafi was doing was, Gaddafi also has gold. And I think it's very interesting that we have this major financial crisis, and now we're attacking a country that has both oil and a huge private reserve of gold on its own land, and like 500 I would have to double check this fact, but it's like 500 tons of gold in its bank vaults. 143. I stand corrected. 143 tons of gold, correct? Something like that. And we're trying to take their gold and their oil. And it's so dirty. It's a dirty fight, and it's just.
Why would these radical fundamentalists want to let us have the oil and the gold once they win?
Well, you should be in Washington. That's the kind of thing that makes sense. But that's what the Americans are choosing to believe, that they're going to have this sweetheart deal. And I am agreeing with you. I think that as soon as they get in, they're going to say, too bad. It's like, and privately, I get emails from some of these, because they know me, that they know that I'm out there, I'm against the rebels. And they do send me, I do get emails that are very nasty emails. And they said, do you really think we'll sell out and give you our gold for free? Do you really think we're going to do that? And I'm like, well, I think that Hillary Clinton thinks you're going to do it. And I think that David Cameron in Britain thinks you're going to do it. And also, I do have documentation that Israel has promised. I actually have an Israeli military document, okay, in Hebrew that I've had translated. And it says that the Israelis are, okay, this is just what it says, that this is a primary document, and I can, it says that Israel will provide financial support to the rebels in exchange for a military base in Libya, in the Green Mountains. And that they call it, the military base will be called 1 by 1. And the Green Mountains is close to where the gold is, which I find very interesting. That the Libyans and the Iraqis both knew who I was from the first day that we went in. And the reason that the Libyans knew immediately, once I told the Libyans, it was over. You can't ever take it back. And that was that my CIA handler, Dr. Richard Fuse, was involved in the Lockerbie case, and he wanted to be a witness testifying in the Lockerbie case. And so we were starting, before I ever went to the Iraqis, we started talks for the Lockerbie trial with Libya, and we wanted the Libyans to know that if they would accept the trial, that his testimony would help exonerate their people. So then I had to tell them who I was. And so they knew, but I remember the first conversation I had with Mr. Amara at the Libyan embassy he's like, we want to know why you are here. This is a very important question. It requires a very important answer. And so he was like, we want to know, what the heck are you doing? Because you people just didn't, in 1995, when I established contact with the Libya House, people just didn't wander into the Libya House. Believe me. And if I had not been an asset, the FBI would have arrested me the minute I came out of there.